those types of situations, when I talked to my dad, his advice was, you got to make decisions with your head, your heart, and your gut. And that one was mostly heart because I didn't have much gut yet.
I've been a barber for the last 10 years, but it wasn't until 3 years ago when I finally embraced social media. Since then, over 1.5 million people have started following me along this journey. Their support has opened the doors to some incredible opportunities, including access to the world's most influential companies and the leaders behind them. Now, I'm here to share their stories. Welcome to CEO Cuts.
All right, Mr. Brian. First of all, I want to say thank you for having me down here. It's been such an amazing time really visiting your facility. It's quite amazing, actually. Like, I've never knew how much went into the process of building the clipper and then shipping them out. That's amazing. So, like I said, thank you for having me. And after visiting your facility, it really is amazing how much detail goes into it, and it gives me a whole different perspective of it, and it really helps me understand why Wahl has become a staple, not only in barbershops, but in homes as well. And that's what really has me wondering, how was the journey with Wahl? Like, how was the beginning? Which I know your dad is the one that started the whole company, correct?
Great-grandfather. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, my great-grandfather, Leo Wahl, he's the one who started the company back in 1919, but he was basically a genius. So even when he was in high school, he was tinkering with electricity, and he had all kinds of ideas for what it could do. And so when he got in, he went to the University of Illinois. He started learning about electromagnetism. He, had developed a motor that was essentially used in a massager. Then he got taken off to war. He ended up, while he was overseas, he also studied at a university in Paris. He continued to work on his invention that he had, prototyping and doing things. And so by the time he got back, he had it all worked out. And that's when he invented the electromagnetic hair clipper, and it all kind of took off from there. So
I had no idea. So he went through war and everything. And
oh yeah,
yeah.
No, he was definitely an entrepreneur. He had all kinds of patents to his name. He really had a vision for what the company could be and what it could do. And, he started just building them, like 20 at a time, basically in a building downtown. And then he, took the money from those and just kept building and building. And pretty soon, he had a little factory in downtown Sterling. And then as they expanded, we grew to the size of the factory we're currently in the 1950s, and it's been ingrained in our family ever since. So
yes,
so when he had 3 sons that worked in the business, and Warren was my great uncle. He was one that was sort of being known for being a man of the people. He was really strong in manufacturing, and he had kind of helped build all the processes and things to make us the world-class manufacturer we are today. And then, my grandfather, Jack, took over after him, and he was an engineer just like, his father, and he had visions of really growing the company into what it is today. So he took us internationally. He really developed the product categories and really grew the company very quickly. And, he expanded us. We had a factory over in China in, I think, 1994. My father was a part of, purchasing two factories that we have over in Europe. We also have factories in Vietnam, in Brazil, in England, and then just employees all over the world. And so when it transitioned over to my father, I think his legacy was really the focus on continuous improvement and, making everything better and essentially instilling the culture that we have today. And so that's why I'm so glad you got a chance to come out and see the people out in the factory, because they really are our secret sauce. We've got a lot of people who are really passionate about this company. They're really passionate about, our customers, our community, and they just do a tremendous job. So it's really an honor to be a part of that, and a heavy torch to carry that tradition on to the next generation.
Yes, sir. That's definitely one of the major things that I noticed. It was like the culture, as you mentioned. Like that seems to be very strong here. Like everybody, the way they interact with each other, the way they all believe in the vision, it's amazing. Like that's why I know like for over 100 years, it's been able to sustain the name brand that it holds, right?
Oh, yeah.
So whenever you took it over though, was that kind of a pressure or how did you feel coming into it and having to continue the legacy?
Oh, I had the luxury of having my father as a mentor, and so I could spent a lot of nights, on phone calls with him and just running things through. But boy, I got thrown into some pretty big challenges that just the whole world was facing, not just Wahl Clipper. But it kind of started. There were a lot of new tariffs that got put on components and things that we buy from overseas, and so we had to figure out how to handle the cost increases we were seeing, and then of course COVID hit, and as you know, pretty much every barbershop in the world shut down for a period of time. And even here, the state of Illinois, barbers were not considered essential. And so, we shut our factory down for a period of time. And
I didn't know the whole facility here was shut down.
There was a small operation that was still running that were making surgical clippers for the medical industry, but otherwise everything else shut down. And we use that as an opportunity to essentially spread things out, to put in all kinds of safety protocols and make sure that we had things sanitized. And because again, our people are our greatest asset, and so we were doing everything that we could to protect them. That was one of those first big challenges I had to face, not knowing what to do, because we didn't know how long it was going to be, and we didn't know when we could bring everybody back to work. And so, but we made the decision to continue to pay our employees during this period of time to make sure that they were taken care of. And again, we have the luxury of being able to do stuff like that because we have such a strong culture here, and because we're privately held, it's all family owned. We don't have to worry about quarterly results, and we can really plan for generation to generation. And so,
right.
I like to, in those types of situations, when I talked to my dad, his advice was, you got to make decisions with your head, your heart, and your gut. And that one was mostly heart because I didn't have much gut yet.
So what year was this taking place? When did you take over?
So I took over in 2019, in June of 2019, and it was pretty much COVID started hitting the world around February of 2020. So
a matter of months, like 6 months into it?
6 months in, yeah.
Ooh, definitely got tested right off the back.
Oh, yeah. And then that was followed by trying to figure out how to deal with remote work and, having people work in different locations. We had to put in a lot of technology to be able to enable the company to do that. We had supply chain disruptions. I mean, everybody remembers how you couldn't get anything like electrical components coming over from Asia. What used to take 6 weeks was taking 6 months, and navigating all that. And then meanwhile, the consumer business, the home users, because they couldn't go to a barber shop, they all still needed to cut hair. So they all went out and bought as many clippers as they could get their hands on.
Ooh, so y'all saw a big switch into like the consumer who was buying the clippers at that time?
Yeah, oh yeah. And so we did a lot of investment to expand and try to keep up and try to serve all our customers. And, and that opened the door for a lot of new competition. So just because we couldn't supply everybody in the world, it opened a lot of new doors, a lot of new competitors came out. And it really, also helped change the landscape that we see today. And so we've been evolving as a company and sort of transforming for kind of the new world we live in, but also staying true to who we are and our culture and our values. And again, remembering what's made us successful all these years. But we've got to move a lot faster, and we've got to, I think competition's good because it challenges you to always be better. And when you've been at the top for 100 years, I think we're going to make some of the biggest advancements in the history of the company over the next few years, just because, they've somewhat awoken the sleeping giant. We're ready to hit back.
That's it. Definitely, yes, sir. So with that being said, though, whenever everything happened with COVID, what were some of the transitions you really had to make? Like, what were some key components that you were like, hey, we're going to focus on this? What was that one thing that you were like, hey, we really got to...
Speed. Innovation and speed to market. So, part of what I've been trying to instill in the company, as we talked about, the company was founded on innovation. And, my great-grandfather was that innovative engineer who had all kinds of ideas, and he figured out how to make them work. And we've got to get back to that. Like, we've got to leverage that history and really figure out how to be more innovative. But the other thing is, everything has changed. I mean, I'm sure you can relate. Barbering has changed.
Yes, sir.
It's so much. It enables us now to connect more. Because I mean, our whole reason for existing is to help you be better at what you do and to support your community. And so now we have more access, through social media, through everything that's shared on the internet. Like, we can learn at a much faster pace to be able to make our products better and better, and able to help you do your job and basically help you make people look good and feel good about themselves. So,
definitely.
So I see it as a huge opportunity, and I'm excited.
Oh, yes, sir. So even during the COVID times, you said like some of the shipping got delayed coming from overseas and stuff. How beneficial was it having your own facility here, your factory here? Was that like a super game changer for y'all? Like, that you didn't have to depend on a lot of overseas stuff, or did it still impact y'all pretty hard?
It depends. And certain product lines were more vertically integrated with stuff that we can buy more here domestically. Like, our vibratory clippers, the corded ones, was much easier because we buy a lot of the steel in Ohio. We can get things relatively quickly. Where it challenged us was on the cordless items, where batteries are coming from overseas, and that's where some of the higher tech electronics, it's just harder to find domestically. And so we're actively trying to become more of a resilient organization and diversifying our supply chain base and working with suppliers to help them diversify as well. So that way we're more prepared. But I did think it gave us an advantage, because we had factories here, we had factories in Europe, we had factories in Asia, so they could all kind of buckle down and support their local markets. And now we're trying to figure out, how do we simplify the business so we can be more nimble and react to these challenges more quickly.
Right. How was that transition? Because again, you started in 2019, right? That's when you took over. So I think around that time is whenever this cordless clippers really started hitting the market. How was that transition of technology? Because throughout the years, 100 years, technology has definitely changed, right? So how did you transition into that?
Well, I mean, we've been making cordless items probably since the 1970s. So we have experience in it. But to your point, like, a lot of the electronics are made by our suppliers. And so that's where we had to kind of up our game. It was working with external suppliers. Where traditionally with our corded products, we make everything. I mean, we make the motors, we do the lamination stamping, we do the coil winding. And so with some of the cordless ones now, we're dependent on, we have to buy that battery, because batteries aren't something that we can cost effectively make.
Right.
So we definitely had to transition and learn, but I think it sped up the market change, because when all the new competition came out, most of it was all coming from China, and most of it, that's where all the cordless electronics and things originate from. So when we couldn't supply and competition came in, it was all coming from China. And so that definitely opened up that space.
Right. Which, like you said, y'all have already been like pretty much ahead of the game with technology, because even I think at one point y'all even made clippers for NASA.
Oh yeah. There's one actually in this museum to my left.
Yes, sir.
You can see.
How was that process of that? How did that even happen?
So somebody from NASA actually reached out to us. One of our engineers, basically, we already had some vacuum clipper technology, so we got the specs from what they would have on the shuttle and what they would have up on the space station, and so we basically designed it. And they obviously came to us because something's up on the space station, it has to work. If it breaks down, there's no shipping for parts. Like, you need to make sure it works.
Right.
And you don't want hair getting in instruments and everything else. So that was a cool project that we got to design, and it's still being used on the space station today. So
yes, sir. Do you think we would ever be able to see that back in a barbershop? Or, because I'm telling you, like, sweeping up sometimes, man. Oh yeah. It would be nice to not have to sweep up every single time.
Yeah. No, we've had some vacuum clippers over time, so that's a good trend we'll have to bring back.
Right. We might have to. I'm saying. Now, to continue going along, like what are some of the new, which I know you can't really disclose that, but
Sure.
I know for sure you have a lot of innovations in mind already as we speak, correct?
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir. Continue growing.
Yeah. No, like I said, I think good competition really sets new expectations of what's possible and what the market wants. And so, we're not a company that looks to just catch up. We're a company that looks to leapfrog. So we're definitely, most of the innovation that we're probably focused on is on the cutting performance of the clipper.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can innovate a lot of things, and there's the ergonomics, the weight, and as simple as a hair clipper seems, there's a lot of complexity that goes into the dynamics of what makes it cut well. It's not just the blade, it's not just the drive system, it's not just the motor speed. It's an ecosystem that all has to work together. And so that's why I think, because we're so vertically integrated and we understand the dynamics, it gives us the ability to work on all those things in parallel. So
Right.
So all I can say is we have, and all those things I'm describing, we are continually innovating. And I'd say, innovation isn't just in the product. It's going to be how we communicate with all of you. It's going to be how we work together, to help support our communities and basically make faster decisions. I'm going to a conference at Microsoft in a few weeks that's going to be talking about all the advancements in AI and everything that we should be doing to, again, better connect with all of you and what you need, because I'm looking to you to understand what are the types of innovation that you need. So the stuff that we work on is meaningful and not just being new and different for the sake of being different, that it actually makes your lives better.
Right. Yes, sir. You're definitely on top of it, because I was trying to think, okay, where's technology leading us into next? But you're already ahead of it with the AI. Like, I forgot all about AI coming up in the picture now.
Oh yeah. No, that's probably going to be one of the biggest technological revolutions that we've seen in computers. So it's just scraping the surface. People are just trying to figure out how to apply it, and obviously it's going to take a lot of work to get it to scale it. But it's going to enable us to do things faster, to understand how to solve problems faster, and I'm hoping it'll help even creativity. And so when you're wanting to come up with artistic new styles, I think it'll even show some things you can do. So,
yes, sir, and definitely.
Inspire.
Man, so it's a lot to keep up with, correct?
Oh yeah.
And so you having I'm pretty sure before you even got into it, you were already pretty knowledgeable that it was going to be a lot. So growing up within the Wahl family, is this something you dreamed of doing? Like, was it in the plan, or?
I'd say it's something I definitely dreamed about. Like, I was, my great grandfather, my grandfather, my father, they were my idols, and so. I was realistic enough in my head to say, well, that would be a nice thing to be able to do, but it wasn't necessarily a plan from when I was a kid. It was just something maybe I aspired and hoped for. And I, after I went to school at University of Notre Dame, I, went off and got my MBA. Then I worked in other industries and did other things for about 8 years, and then came back and worked for the company and started in a smaller role and kind of worked my way up. And my first job was over in Germany. I was growing the Wahl brand over in Europe, and so it was a cool experience to really to get out of when you grow up in a small town, you have a limited exposure to the world, and so getting out there, I got to see customers all over, Europe, the Middle East, into Africa. And I really got to see what the potential is, and also see how incredible that culture is and translates to all those locations everywhere.
Right.
I mean, I was in South Africa a few weeks ago, and pretty much every person I ran into, whether it was the guy checking me in at the airport or the driver taking me to the hotel or the people in the hotel, as soon as they saw my last name, they're like, "You work for Wahl?" Like, they were so excited. I mean, it is the brand is just so well known around the world, and it's a lot of pride for me and for the family to know that people really care about it, and that it's not just that they know it, but that they truly love it. And
yes, sir.
I always brag to people, how many brands do you know where the customers are so passionate, they will actually tattoo, Wahl on themselves.
I've seen that a lot, yes, sir. I've seen plenty of people. And I think after this, we all agree we're all going to get Wahl tattoos. Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, I mean, I came back to work in the U.S. and got experience in different areas of the business, and when my father was ready to retire, and I was given the opportunity. I mean, I feel truly blessed to be able to do it, and it's a big burden because it's a huge responsibility. There are a lot of people that depend on us, and my whole goal is to leave the company in a better spot for the next generation, when I'm ready to move on.
All right, yes, sir. But I think that's still going to be a little while, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're just getting started now.
The fun's just getting started, yeah.
Sir.
I think a lot of what I've probably had to focus on is reacting to all the changes that we talked about, that have been going on in the world, and they're not done. And I think, again, that's what's going to make us a stronger company. But I feel like I've probably learned, 10 years worth of being a CEO in the last 4.5 years. So.
Right. Yes, sir. Now, who would you say is your backbone behind doing what you do every single day?
I mean, it really is rooted in our values and
right.
Just being a family value company that cares about people. So again, when I got that chance to go to South Africa and just see how inspiring it was to have so many people really truly love the company and the brand, and the people that work there are just so passionate. And then even to see the impact that we're having on the world. I mean, they're supporting people who, they're training barbers who are in prison that might not be able to get jobs anywhere else, to give them a better life. They're doing things to help support the local schools there, and none of it's sort of corporately mandated. It's just built into our culture that we just empower people to say, hey, if you find a way to help, do it, and the company will support you. And so that's probably something we need to do a little bit better at coordinating and really, telling that story, because I think it is another advantage for us. Like, we want people to come work for us, not who just want to make a lot of money or they want to, build the best hair clipper. We want them to come to have purpose and to really do something meaningful for people and to have passion about what they do every day. So I like to say, I don't want people coming and just giving their hands, or their minds. Like, I want them giving their hearts, to the customers.
Well, I got to speak with a lot of different people here at the facility, and I will honestly say that every single one of them said, well, of course, there was a couple that said they actually applied and they had to wait a while. They were like, man, we've been trying to get into it, and we finally got that opportunity. We were like, yes, we're going for it. So people are really looking forward to working here. And something else, I think the reason why people look forward to working here, after speaking to them, they know there's a lot of growth opportunity here.
Oh, yeah.
That was the biggest thing that really stuck to me with each individual that I talked to this whole week.
Yeah. No, a big part of what I mentioned, my father and grandfather and their legacy. I think a big part of what I'm trying to do is instill that purpose for people, and also the development. How can we essentially empower our people to live up to their full potential? And so we're investing a lot in just people development, and because we're a global company, we have a lot of career opportunities, and I want people who are willing to challenge themselves and essentially do things they didn't think they were capable of.
Yes, sir. I think you definitely have built that culture around it. Yes, sir. Now, with all the stuff you got going on, though, aside from clippers and everything, what's something that helps you continue and kind of ease your mind a little bit? Like, do we have any kind of hobbies? You look like a golf guy, or no? Not really into golf.
I would like to play golf, but I don't get out enough, and I'm not very good.
Come on.
I tend to be kind of an outdoorsy guy. So I grew up. I spent some time out in Colorado. I lived for 6 years working in different companies, and so I really took up skiing out there. And then when I moved out to Germany, we got a chance to ski out in the Alps. So once a year, we try to get out and ski. I like to ride bikes. I've been on fishing trips with my father since I was a kid, so fishing is another passion. I would say I like to hike with my wife and my kids, and just to get out. And
what's been your favorite place to hike at?
Man, that's a tough one. That's a good question. I mean, probably where I've done most of my hiking is out in the Rockies, out in Colorado.
Rockies?
That's a lot of fun. But there's some beautiful places in Hawaii too. They've got some great mountains, and you can oversee the ocean and the waves. And actually, even when I was in South Africa, we went and saw some customers down in Cape Town. And they had some beautiful, beautiful hikes as well.
So definitely active then.
Yeah, I try to. Well, I have 3 little kids that keep me active. So
I gotcha.
most of my time is, watching them play sports or doing things there. But it's a little tricky being in a family business when you have birthdays and my brothers come over and they work for the business. My dad works for the business. My wife works for the business. So.
Man, it really is family instilled then.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So how many brothers do you have?
I've got 3 younger brothers.
They're younger?
Yep. 2 of them are currently working for the company. Another one's working out in Chicago. And I would imagine there will come a day where he'll come back.
All right. Yes, sir. It's just a matter of time, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So do you see them kind of like taking over into it, or you see more of like your kids one day?
Oh yeah. No, I think, one, it's a big company. So my younger brothers and my cousin all have strong leadership roles within the organization and make huge impacts. And so, but yeah, when the day comes, I think there's definitely opportunity for them to lead while I'm ready to retire.
Right. Yes, sir.
My father worked until he was in his 70s. I don't aspire to do that. I want to spend some time with my kids when I get a chance.
Right. Yes, sir. Well, talking about leadership, what do you think is one of the key components about being a leader?
It's a good question. I think, one, you got to be humble. You're really a steward for your people. So, part of my challenge coming in was, my father worked for the company for 40 years, and he knew the ins and outs of this business better than anyone who worked here. And so when I came into the role, I was only 40, so I had only been with the company for a little over 10 years. And so, I was never going to have the 40 years of experience that he had. So I really was dependent on finding really talented, smart people to surround myself around and really empower the organization. And that's why I'm so focused on people development, because I feel like if I can lead and I judge a good leader on their success of how strong is their team. Not on their own individual accomplishments, but how well have they developed a high functioning team. And so that's where I spend all of my time and development, and try to coach and put people in opportunities to be successful. And there's so many opportunities. Part of the challenge is not overworking the most talented people, because you want to put them on the best stuff, and there's just so much to do.
That's a great. I just learned a lot right there. Yes, sir. So it's not about the individual excelling; it's about his team doing the best. Yes, sir.
100%.
Oh, y'all definitely have a great team.
Yeah, and I mean, especially when you're operating all over the world, you need people who. Our customers are different, and there's different needs, and we need people who are close to them that really understand it. And part of our challenge is there's so much complexity trying to make sure that everyone in the organization is to align to what our customers value. So it shouldn't just be the sales guy that understands, or the customer service person who might be doing repairs for their issues, but we need it translating all the way back to the R&D engineers. We need every person out on the factory floor to understand what's a critical part that is critical to the quality and performance of the product, and paying special attention to make sure that's all done. And so we're trying to work faster and create that speed of communication all the way throughout the organization.
Right, definitely. Side a little bit. Let me go ahead and get in front of you right here, because we do not want your beard to be leaning. That would be something, right? Like, that's a little bit.
What do you think about practice? Any advice you'd give me?
I've been loving it.
Yeah.
I've been loving it, yes, sir. So, especially like as I mentioned, especially now, like really taking the inside look of what it takes to build it and how much detail you put into it. Man, that's amazing. Like it's been a great time, great experience seeing all that. And again, it goes into the whole like how the team is set up to where everybody does work as a team, and the way they just fluently work together from the building straight into the shipping. Man, it's been amazing to see.
No, I mean, we are different in a lot of ways. I mean, there are plenty of competitors in the market that they don't manufacture anything. They shop for stuff in factories in Asia, and they say, I'll buy that one, and then they're great marketing companies. They do a good job telling a compelling story, and I think that's an area where we need to be better at telling our story. But we're really focused on what do our customers need, and again, we're going to get faster, we're going to get better at that. But it's pretty exciting to know that now that we've gotten through some of the instability with COVID, now we can really focus on innovation and focus on our customers.
Oh, yes, sir. Which at the same time, I do feel like a lot of people tell your story pretty well. Like speaking with everybody around town, like your story is pretty deep. Like everybody knows Wahl. Like that's been this cool thing about it. Like how everybody tells it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So what do you see Wahl headed to next? Like what's the next biggest things for Wahl?
Oh, I think there's tons of opportunities. I mean, in the U.S. is in our biggest market, and that's where I think we've got a lot of innovative new products that are coming to kind of reestablish ourselves in the U.S. market. But when I look at the growth opportunities in terms of things that would essentially double the size of the company, I mean, there's opportunities all over the world, and professional is our heritage. It's our bread and butter. It's when we sell consumer product, it's literally the brand used by professionals. But we also have, an animal line that we do a lot of business around the world in. And, I think, again, changes in the marketplace. Like as COVID happened, as more remote work started happening, more and more people are getting pets. And they, a lot of studies will say people will spend, taking care of their pets. They treat them like children. So
definitely, sir.
I got two big dogs at home, and we definitely baby them. But yeah, no, we're going to continue to develop products that really take care of our core customers and continue to learn, and the sky's the limit.
So what really came first? Was it like on a professional side or the consumer side? Professional
by far. It's what we're most well known for around the world.
So now when it came to like consumer, like even like getting into some of the major retail stores, how was the process behind that?
I think there was probably a period of time where we weren't as good at selling into consumer, and it was probably about 20 years ago we kind of better understood the retail landscape, and really it's all about making sure that you're partnering with those retailers, and their job is to grow and provide the best products for their customers. And so I think earlier on in consumer, we had kind of high-end pro products, and then we tried to differentiate consumer by being a more value brand. And we realized that, we were never going to compete with, low-cost products coming out of Asia. And so we upgraded the consumer business. And so what used to be, maybe a $30 clipper, now people are spending, $60 for clippers. I mean, we make a beard trimmer that's easily over $100, and so the demands are different. It doesn't need to last as long, much more focused on, how long the battery life will sit in somebody's drawer versus how long it'll run all day. So you definitely have to design products very differently to match those customer needs. And, like our high vis, you want it to cut super close, and there's a much more technical technique to it, but whereas a consumer home user is looking for something that's more value, and maybe they don't want to accidentally hurt themselves if they don't use it right.
Which at the same time, I feel like that was a great thing that it was on the consumer side too, because actually that's how I began cutting hair. Because I went and it was available for me to be able to get one, so I started cutting my own hair. Then eventually started cutting friends, and that's how we got into the professional world, right? And I personally believe that's how a lot of barbers get started.
Yeah.
With that consumer side, then we end up on the professional side.
Yeah. Once you develop the skill, then You upgrade to the big leagues. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Let's try this.
it's great to hear about people like yourself who have had the chance to basically really make an impact and start. I'm sure you started, like you said, modest means, just trying to cut people's hair with some home products and work your way up, and now
Yes, sir.
now you're out cutting the CEO's hair.
Right. Yes, sir. Now, if you had to guess what Mr. Leo would be thinking right now after seeing how the company has continued its legacy, what do you think he would say to you? Like if you had like a family meeting, family reunion.
I don't think he could have dreamed of as big as we've gotten and how just how revered the brand is. But at the same time, he'd probably be problem solving, figuring out, like he'd be in a lab working with the engineers to figure out how we can make the next best thing.
Right. Yes, sir. I mean, because literally his product didn't exist at the beginning. It was literally just a handheld clipper, right? No motor, nothing.
No, not until he invented that motor.
And he invented the first motor for a clipper.
Yeah, and he's the one that figured out with the oscillation of the electricity that it would match with driving the motor back and forth and moving the blades back and forth. And so it's pretty incredible how long his innovation has stood the test of time. I mean, there's obviously been enhancements and improvements, but when you get down to it, it's a lot of the same fundamentals exist based on the technology that he developed.
Would we happen to know how old he was at the time of engineering all this?
So I'm trying to think. I know he built the house that I live in 1926, and I believe he was 32 then.
So you live in his house that he built?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Come on.
Yeah, it was. I have pictures of my grandfather as a baby running around in the yard. So it was my grandfather's house before me. So yeah, there's history and tradition that weave throughout this town, community, our family. Like it's a lot of pride. And anyway.
Yeah, that's a lot of history in it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Man, even with him going to war, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, a lot of. So he went to war. Both Bob and Warren, who were two of his sons, went off to war. My grandfather Jack went off and served in World War II. So yeah, no, there's big military history as well.
Right, yes, sir. Definitely. Now, if you had to leave a message for the next person to take over, let's say whether that's your brother, your kids, and the next CEO of Wahl, what would that message be for them?
Oh, I'd probably just say, do us proud.
That's right. That's it. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Take care of our people. Take care of our customers. Never lose sight of what got us here, and just keep doing what we're doing.
That's it. Yes, sir. Well, I think we got you done with the bald fade. Right. Yes, sir. We're just going to clean up your neck a little bit more.
Sure.
Let's see what else. Let me see. I might be moving the mic a little bit. Quitting. Gotta make sure. Get all a little hair. Up a little bit. Now, of course, you've named a lot of accomplishments throughout the company, but what would you say is your proudest accomplishment?
Probably. So I mentioned my father was kind of, his legacy to the organization was really developing the values and culture. And so the story there was he basically wrote it on a napkin in like 10 minutes, and it was something that we put on posters and really resonated with. And then eventually, we said, okay, let's take this and really formalize it and build the Wahl way, which is the values and culture that we have today.
The Wahl way.
I was a big part of, so like he wrote down, for example, one of the values was respect for people who work hard. And, as we evolved it, we changed it to now respect every individual. And part of that was just saying, we really value that people work hard, but every person that, that works at our company, or just every person in general, has intrinsic value. And it's our job as leaders to really untap that potential and make sure that they're living fulfilling lives and, providing for their families and everything else. And so being a part of kind of building that and formalizing it. And now we try to tie it into how we evaluate our teams and their performance. And we survey our employees on whether or not we're living those values. Every year we just did a survey a few weeks ago, which I'll be getting the results to, I think, May 6th. And then we're going to go through and I'm going to look at every single comment that was provided and everything. And that's our call to action to say, okay, now how do we make this a better company for the future? And so just being a part of that, I think, I know that once I'm gone and doing something else, I know that culture will live on. And so
I definitely will. And I feel like y'all have definitely developed a lot of dreamers, because I was one of the employees that I was cutting earlier today. I asked him what his big dream was, his overall goal, and he said one of his bigger dreams was to literally design the clipper from start to finish for y'all. I'm like, man, that's a major goal. So they all have the same vision of let's continue growing, let's continue dreaming big and making it happen.
And we'll have plenty of opportunities for that person to do it. So.
Yes, sir. All right, Mr. Brian. I think we got you set.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Well,
definitely.
Thank you so much.
Again, I appreciate you having me over, inviting me, giving me this opportunity. It's been such an amazing experience. And I've always respected Wahl, but now I have an even deeper respect for Wahl and what I do. So,
you're the reason we exist. So it's my pleasure, and it's an honor to have you here. So
yes, sir. Well, thank you. All right.